Bravo 1, this is Bravo 3. You can now proceed back downstream to base. Understood, over?
Well, we first came in contact with CRS when my son disappeared, the River Lagan, in January. We found them so helpful to us, and they were like a family to us. At the end, we're still in contact, and it's almost a year later. They've just been such a massive help to us in the search.
The Community Rescue Service was formed in 2007, October 2007, at a request of the Police Service of Northern Ireland. The Community Rescue Service got involved in the high-profile case of the Joby Murphy incident, which happened in the centre of Belfast, where a young man who had been attending the Snow Patrol concert in the Odyssey Arena. Joby had been there with some friends, including his girlfriend, and they had a great night at the concert and went on afterwards to a local nightclub which was in the same complex. After having consumed a fair bit of alcohol, they were heading back home, and Joby himself was crossing the bridge, this time separated from the rest of them on his own, and one of the footbridges on the Lagan Weir, and he found himself through a bit of larking about in the water. And once he found himself in the water, he was unable to extract himself from the river and was swept underneath.
Well, I didn't think it was going to happen to me. Actually, my phone was ringing and I wouldn't answer it. I just wouldn't answer the phone for some reason. And the police came out to the door and were knocking on the door, and I opened the door and I said, "What do you want?" He says, "We need to come in." I said, "Why? What do you want? What do you want?" And he says, "Look, we really need to come in." And he said it again. I just didn't want them to come in. It just sounded like bad news. And then I see my ex-wife with the police. I thought, what's going on here? So we ended up, when they come in, and he can't even talk about it actually. He just and he said the son was missing. He actually brought me down here, and it was actually very hard to sink in, because when he went out that night, I just thought there must be some sort of mistake here, you know.
When I got into the search phase, the Community Rescue Service was tasked to come and assist, and we brought our specialist search teams and continued for quite a period of time, searching continuously for any signs of Joby or of his body. It became then apparent that Joby wasn't going to be found through natural process, and that we would need to use some specialist equipment to try and find him. And initially the police brought in sonar equipment from England and done a survey scan, which resulted in not being able to find Joby. And some theories had it that he had been swept on out to sea, but from our experience we would know that that was very highly unlikely. So we continued to concentrate our search using our past experience and the equipment that we would be familiar with. And we finally managed to contact another voluntary organisation which we'll be in cooperation with, which is Mallow Rescue. And the Mallow Rescue sonar team came to Belfast and scanned the river, and in a very short period of time were able, using this equipment, to identify what they believed was Joby's body under the water, not very far from where he had submerged, probably about another 200 metres downstream. A marker buoy was placed right beside where we believed the body was, and then a diver went down again, and fortunately it turned out to be Joby, and he was recovered fairly quickly. But this was 31 days after he had went into the river, which is a considerable length of time for the family. They felt that if a sonar had been more readily available and people were able to use it, that this would have been a much more effective way of getting their loved one back, and that they believed through their own experiences that they should do something about this.
31 days I was really getting actually very depressed, and I was arguing with people then, and I went on up the loch to search, because I was told by the so-called experts that he wasn't here, and we, in our our own belief, we knew he was here, but we were told by the experts he wasn't. And even CRS told us they thought he wouldn't be far away, and CRS were actually proved to be right then, you know. But when we got sonar equipment, Sean McCarry told us about Mallow Search and Rescue, and he brought them up, and the day they brought them up was the day they pinpointed him and found him, actually. So that was fantastic. I remember just looking across the bay at the boat, and the Mallow Search and Rescue put their hands up that they got him, and people were coming over to me, patting my back and patting me, and I'm going, because I waited so long. No, it's not. I just couldn't believe it, and it took a long time to sink it in. I felt guilty at being happy. And I thought, I'm happy, but I shouldn't be happy. I was happy and sad at the same time. It was just a strange emotion, very strange.
Well, we're out looking and searching, but to be honest, I never thought going out that day that we were going to see or find anything, like, and it was as the boat was coming back in the dock at the back of the Odyssey. That's whenever, like, we got the news that he'd been found, and to be honest, like, it was strange because I don't think I've been that happy the whole way throughout the search, but I knew, like, there was tougher times ahead, but for that one day, like, we were just all elated and relieved just to have him back.
If the police had CRS in from the beginning, and CRS could have said, right, we'll get Mallow Search and Rescue up here from Cork, that didn't happen. The police just wanted to do it their way, which, you know, if CRS had done it their way, would have got Mallow Search and Rescue up maybe the next day, would have got Joby the next day. And instead we had a closed coffin, and that was very hard. That was very, very, very hard. That was one of the hardest things, you know. Well, we started up the Joby Murphy Trust Fund because we felt because there was no sonar equipment in Northern Ireland, we thought that we could raise money and buy one. So we started off the fund. It started off very slowly with a football match, and we raised nearly £2,000 then, and then it was going very slow. But luckily, Snow Patrol got in contact with us and offered us £10,000, so that boosted the whole fund.
My name's Johnny Quinn and I play drums with Snow Patrol. So I first heard about the story about Joby going missing after our gig in Belfast. I've been looking probably for a live review of the gig and noticed this story and just really felt for everyone involved. I just contacted the rest of the band because, you know, I just felt we were somehow connected with it, being at the gig and being one of our fans, and everybody, you know, said, you know, this is something that we'd like to get involved with. It was something that we just felt was very close to our hearts, so we got involved with that.
I answered the phone. I think it was the accountant rang me, and I was like, what? You know, I just couldn't believe what he was saying. And then it was afterwards, it was 5 minutes later, I thought, is this somebody messing about here? You know, this must be a prank, because these things don't happen. But when I told my daughter Stacey, she immediately went on Facebook, and the whole world knew. Then I was told that the boys were trying to keep it quiet, and I thought, you know, they're not going to like me for this. But I thought you couldn't keep that quiet. You know, it was just such a massive boost to us and the fund.
Amazingly, within a period of 6 months, the full amount was raised from local voluntary contributions from the local community in Belfast and wider afield, even as far as Canada, from family and relatives, to raise the £40,000 that was required to equip and get this sonar equipment, which we now are very pleased to say is in the hands of the Community Rescue Service through the kind donation of the Joby Murphy Memorial Trust.